It's been a while since I've been in a theater where people were actually screaming out loud during a horror movie. The Conjuring Last Rites managed to bring that energy back. Even if I wasn't scared myself, it was fun watching the audience lose their minds again.
I don't know how to protect you this time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. The Conjuring Last Rites is the 10th film in the Conjuring Universe. Directed by Michael Chaves and starring Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Mia Tomlinson, and Ben Hardy. It's been marketed as the final film in Phase 1 of the cinematic universe, and the last chapter in the Warrens' mainline story. I'm a bit late to this review, but the timing actually worked out, since it was just announced today that the Conjuring TV show is moving forward on HBO Max. I'm curious whether the Warrens will be involved in that at all, especially with this film closing the book on their story. Now, Michael Chaves tends to get a lot of hate from horror fans. His entries are often considered the weaker parts of the universe. But much like The Devil Made Me Do It, I actually had a good time with Last Rites. And if this really is the end for Ed and Lorraine on the big screen, I think it's a fitting way to wrap up their journey. Before I dive in, if you're enjoying this review, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my upcoming horror coverage. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can join my Patreon for just $1 a month. This entry follows the Warrens as they investigate the haunting of the Smurl family. Strange occurrences and violent attacks suggest multiple spirits are at play, but the Warrens suspect something darker is pulling the strings. At the same time, their daughter Judy, now older and dealing with her growing clairvoyance, gets pulled deeper into their world along with her new boyfriend Tony. As Ed struggles with his health and Lorraine questions how much longer they can continue with this dangerous work, the family faces one of their most personal and harrowing cases yet. So the best part of this film, and honestly the entire franchise, remains Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their chemistry has been incredible since the first Conjuring back in 2013, and they really do feel like a couple that's been through hell together. Here, though, we get a different side of them. Ed's heart problems, which were introduced in The Devil Made Me Do It, return, and it creates real tension in some of the scarier moments. You genuinely worry if he's going to make it through certain sequences. Lorraine, meanwhile, is at her most vulnerable as she questions whether they can continue doing this line of work while also trying to protect Judy from following in their footsteps. What I loved most is that this doesn't feel like just another case of the weak adventure. It feels like the culmination of everything they've been through, the highs, the lows, and the toll it's taken on them as a couple. Watching them fight together, support one another, and eventually find some closure was bittersweet but also deeply satisfying. If this really is the end of the Warrens on the big screen, it's a send-off that honors their characters. The supernatural side of things is solid too. We get 3 distinct spirits haunting the Smurl family. 2 of them are fairly standard, creepy shadowy presences that provide the usual jump scares, but they're handled competently. The standout, though, is easily the grandma ghost. She was featured heavily in the marketing, and for good reason. That wide, unnerving smile made for some of the most effective moments in the film. Even though the scare setups are predictable, the execution was strong enough that my audience was gasping and screaming every time she appeared. Now personally, I wasn't scared. When you watch as many horror films as I do, it's rare to get caught off guard by a jump scare. But I still found myself entertained because of the way the movie used atmosphere and timing to keep the audience on edge. For me, the fun came less from the scares themselves and more from watching the crowd react to them. And that brought back a theater-going energy I haven't felt in a long time. I was also pleasantly surprised by how Judy and Tony were incorporated into the story. Judy is older now and her clairvoyant abilities are becoming stronger. That creates some really compelling dramatic tension because Ed and Lorraine are desperate to shield her from the kind of trauma they've endured for decades. The family dynamic here feels lived in and heartfelt, and it deepened my emotional investment in the story. Tony, meanwhile, could have been an unnecessary side character, but I actually thought he was a great addition. He's trying to fit into this unusual family while also proving he's good enough for Judy. The moments he shares with Ed, where Ed tests him a bit, were some of my favorites, because you can see Tony both respecting Ed and also trying to show he won't back down in the face of danger. He brought some lighter, almost comedic beats to balance out the darker elements, and I'd honestly love to see more of him if this universe continues. And then there's the gore. Now, this is not a franchise that's known for bloody or extreme violence. It's usually more about atmosphere and supernatural tension. But Last Rites throws in one surprisingly brutal, gnarly moment, and it really caught me off guard. It wasn't over the top or constant, but it was impactful enough to stand out, and it added an extra punch to the scene it was part of. As someone who always appreciates when horror isn't afraid to get a little messy, I thought it was a welcome surprise and one of the film's boldest choices. But now we get to where the film stumbled for me. As with most Conjuring entries, there's usually a big reveal near the end that ties everything together. The demon pulling the strings, the name drop that sends shivers, the ultimate enemy behind the curtain. This time we're told that a powerful demonic force is controlling the three spirits and that it has ties to the Warrens' very first case. That's an awesome setup, but the movie never pays it off. We don't get a name, we don't get much lore, and we don't get the sense of finality that a reveal like that should provide. It ends up feeling vague and anticlimactic. In past films, those reveals were some of the best moments, whether it was Bathsheba or Valak, because they gave us something concrete to latch onto. Here it just felt like a missed opportunity, especially since this is supposed to be the Warrens' final chapter. I also wish the movie leaned harder into the real-life Smurl haunting. If you've ever read about it, it's a wild story. Alleged violent attacks, terrifying possessions, and constant escalation that made it one of the Warrens' most infamous cases. In the film, it feels somewhat watered down. We get the basic beats of a family being tormented, but the extremity of the real case isn't fully realized. If they had pushed it further, really shown how this case pushed the Warrens to their limits, it could have made the ending land even harder. Instead, it felt like they held back a little, and for a supposed grand finale, I think the story could have used that extra intensity to really hammer home why this was the case that defined the end of their careers. So The Conjuring Last Rites isn't without flaws, but I still found it to be a satisfying conclusion to Ed and Lorraine's story. It's not as strong as James Wan's original two entries, but thanks to Wilson and Farmiga's performances, some fun scares, and a surprisingly heartfelt family dynamic, I walked away happy with how this chapter closed. I'm giving The Conjuring Last Rites a score of 3.5 out of 5. So what did you think of The Conjuring Last Rites? Did it feel like a fitting end to the Warren story, or did it fall short for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and if you'd like to help support the channel, check out my Patreon for just $1 a month. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.